What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're unboxing an old favorite of mine, the Samsung Galaxy S4. Now you might ask yourself, well, Pat, why are you unboxing such an old phone? And reason is, I've got a couple of these laying around. I picked up a Note 4 to replace the Galaxy S4, but this is still a very relevant phone. It's still available on just about every single character. It's still in manufacture, and it's still a pretty popular phone. So, even though I'm not using mine still, we're going to be taking a quick look at it. I'll kind of unbox it, talk about what's included, and we'll talk about specs today, and hopefully I'll make this nice and short. So, it comes in this wooden kind of box. It just looks that way. It's obviously not wood. On the back here, we've got a whole bunch of different stuff. And it talks about that it's 4G capable. It has a 5-inch full HD Super AMOLED display. It has an infrared blaster. It has a 1.9 gigahertz quad-core processor. It has Watch On, which we'll get into in a second. It has a 13 megapixel rear-facing camera and a 2 megapixel front-facing camera for selfies and all that good stuff. It uses the Android operating system, and it comes with 4.3 Android KitKat by default. Then it has full HD 1080p recording and playback. And it talks about some of its partners there, like Android and DivX and Wi-Fi certifications. And then it's got a whole bunch of stuff at the bottom. So we'll unbox this, take the sleeve off, open it up, and immediately you'll see your phone. Take that out and get to that in a second. Does come in a couple different colors, navy blue, white, purple, and I think there's like a lighter blue. So then you've got this kind of opens up, and depending on your carrier, it'll look different. Sprint gives you this whole booklet of information to get you started, which nobody ever uses. It comes with the standard charger, which is micro USB to USB. It comes with the standard power brick from Samsung, where we have our USB in end and our two-prong power. I never actually used these, but so they're still kind of in their original packaging. They are some Samsung earbuds, and I think they have a microphone and volume control built in. And then what else do we have in the box? Different sized ear cups. It's kind of hard to see in there. A couple different sized ear cups that we have, and that's about it. So let's take a look at the phone. As I had mentioned originally, 5-inch display. It's a very healthy medium. A lot of people are right around this 5-inch range. It's comfortable because your finger can almost hit a very good portion of the screen. It's not a very good representation of that because I have small hands. But still, very, very beautiful phone. There was nothing wrong with this phone. I had no problems with it. I was just, as a tech person, I'm dying for the next piece of technology. My Note 4 is still a brand new phone, and it's perfect, but, in 2 months, there'll be another phone, and I'll be craving that one. So this is pretty nice. This is the white version. We've got a couple sensors up top here, which function each differently. One is a camera. And I think that one is, this one right here is the camera. And then as we move over, we've got different optic sensors. These two over here are optic sensors. They have some gestures where you can, wave your hand over the phone, or it tracks your eyes. So as you're looking at the phone, if you're, watching a video or something like that, the screen won't sleep. And then if you look away from the phone, it knows that your eyes have moved or that your head has moved. And it will pause the video accordingly. And then all the way on the left there, on the other side, is a status LED, if I remember correctly, which indicates if you're charging or if you have a message or what kind of message you have, and you can set that accordingly. Up on top here, that is our headphone jack, the larger one, and there's a little Qualcomm sticker on there that I never took off. And then here is the IR blaster on this side. On the left side of the, actually this is the right side of the phone if you're holding it like this. The right side of the phone just has a power button, which is kind of hard to see there. One thing I didn't really like from this phone, now I normally had a case on it because it's pretty thin. It is 0.3 inches thick while we're at it. 5.4 inches this way and about 2.75 inches this way. And those are rough. They go down to like 8 decimal places, but I'm not going to read it. But I always felt that it was a little too thin, so I mostly had a pretty thin case on it to just give it a little bit more depth and grip. It is a slippery phone. On the back is just a different color plastic. While we're on the back, 13 megapixel camera. You've got the flash that's down here, and depending on what kind of Galaxy device it is, like the S3 had like flashes on both sides. The S4 has it down here. The flash on the S5 is over here on the side. The S6, it's on the same side too. And then with the Note, they moved it back to the bottom, but it is slightly different because it's got some new sensors in there. Speaker is in the usual bottom right-hand corner, which is okay because when you're kind of holding the phone like you normally do, your phone kind of acts as a kind of redirection for the speaker. A lot of people also, when you put it in landscape mode like this, you cover the hand up with the speaker, and it, rather than the sound blasting away from you, your hand kind of redirects that sound so that it comes towards you. So you might see a lot of people going like this with their phone to get a much better audio quality out of that. But really slippery phone. Back is all plastic. The sides, even though they have that metallic look, are all plastic. The volume rocker is over here on this side. The power button is over here on this side. It's all a slightly raised piece of button on the other side, so it's very hard to denote where the button is on the phone. Just by that raised up thing. It's not a different texture. It's all the same. It's kind of interesting. I will power the phone on, and we'll kind of see that. You do have to hold the button down, and then it will power on. It says Samsung Galaxy, and then depending on your carrier, your phone might power up slightly different. Not the fastest startup, but I just factory reset this phone, so we'll see what it does. There's Samsung's usual logo. Sprint, obviously if you're not a Sprint user, you won't get this big bright yellow screen. And then down here you saw the touch buttons light up like most phones nowadays. There is just about one button on here. But on the other side, if I unlock this phone, this is the lame wallpaper that they give you by default. But if you unlock the phone, that is the standard, it's kind of hard to see, standard touchwiz UI. Now I'm not going to go too much into the UI. It looks like that by default. It's a pretty fast phone. You can kind of scroll through things very fast. Menus pop up very fast. It's going to complain that I don't have a connection because I don't have the SIM card in. Everything comes up nice and fast. I haven't had any complaints with the phone as of yet. The camera is pretty nice. So there's me over there. So I haven't had any complaints with it. I'm not a fan of the Samsung touchwiz. I think raw Android is absolutely wonderful. But we'll get into the actual software in a little, maybe probably in another video, because Android is so completely customizable that nobody's phone ever looks really the same. So the software does differ. Samsung's touchwiz is kind of lame, but it's easy and it's simple, and it kind of tries to regain some of the simplicity that Apple has. But pretty beautiful phone. Just on the bottom there you have a single microphone, which is really hard to see. It is very tiny. It is just to the right here of the micro USB charger, and that's about it. Really nice phone, very thin. It's not going to bend or break. I mean, it's pretty durable. The backing is absolutely wonderful with it. I've never had any issue with the phone. The software was always pretty good. I did play around with a couple different launchers and other things like that, but once again, we are going to get into the software in a little bit later video. I just kind of wanted to go over specs and other things like that. So while I'm waiting for something to load, we talked about colors. It comes in 4 colors. You can use your Samsung wearables with it. 2 megapixel camera, 2 megapixel camera here in the front, 13 on the back. It has a 4x, 4 times digital optical zoom. It goes further than that, but it's a little bit different. It's got autofocus, dual cameras, dual recording, geotagging, HD playback, recording, LED flash, Bluetooth, Buddy photo share, Dropbox, email, Google. It talks about all of its different, partnering features. Talks about battery, and battery averages right around 17 hours. Obviously, if you're one of those people that leaves your phone brightness on absolute max and you're watching YouTube videos and movies and all that stuff all day long, your battery will be less. If you only make phone calls and text on it occasionally, your battery will be better. It says music playtime, it has up to 69 hours. The battery type and size is a lithium-ion battery. It is 3.8 volts, and it is a 2600 milliamp hour battery, which is pretty good. It's very standard nowadays. Most phones still use that standard 25 to 3000 milliamp hour, depending on the size of the phone and what kind of hardware they have in there. It has 16 gigs storage internal, and they call that ROM. I think that is the only amount of storage that you can get in this phone, the Sprint version at least. It does have 2 gigs of RAM, which is plenty. They designed the operating system around the specs. So, this new phone that I have has 3 gigs of RAM, and it uses just about all of it. The old phones that only had 1 gig of RAM would use just about all of it. So it's all kind of relative and proportionate. You can use external SD cards, micro SD cards only. And you can put an additional 65 gigs in there. So I think that's what I did with mine. It uses the GSM bands, the HSPA plus bands, CDMA, EVDO bands, and LTE bands. So it works on just about every single carrier. Let's see, what else does it have? 1.9 gigahertz quad core I talked about. It has a resolution of 1920 by 1080, which is the standard for HD nowadays. That's the 1080p resolution. And it has a pixel per inch pixel density of 441, which still beats out many phones that are on the market today. This Samsung always has very, very beautiful screens, really great pixel density. It has the usual stuff like air gestures, which I talked about. If you're in a gallery, for example, and you wave your hand over the phone rather than actually swiping through the pictures, if your hands are dirty or something like that, you can simply wave your hand over the phone and it will change pictures accordingly. You can scroll with your eyes because it has these cameras here on the front. So if you're looking at it and you sort of look down towards the bottom of the internet page or whatever you're reading, it will scroll accordingly. It has different smart unlock features. A whole bunch of different stuff, RGB lighting, gyrometers, geomagnetic barometers. There's a whole bunch of sensors that they cram into these phones nowadays. It can do GPS navigation, obviously. Talks about codecs in here, a bunch of features and disclaimers, and that's about it. So that's really it for the specs. I will get into the software a little bit later if you guys are interested. TouchWiz is a pretty ugly software that Samsung uses to skin over the naturally beautiful Android. But we might go over that in a later video. But stay tuned, guys. We've got some more content coming up. I just got my Bitcoin operation here up and running, and that has been a mess, but starting to make a couple bucks here and there, and it's pretty interesting. So there's a lot of questions that I still have for myself, and I've been doing a lot of research over the past 4 or 5 days, and there's still a lot of unanswered questions. So I'll probably be making a video there pretty soon once I really get a grasp on exactly what Bitcoin is. Another review that's coming up here pretty soon of the Note 4. I've been using it for a couple weeks now, and it is absolutely wonderful. There's a couple flaws with it, but I think that is related to the new Android 5.0.1 software. So we'll be getting into that. Still have a whole bunch of audio stuff over here that I need to go over that I've kind of been slacking on. But stay tuned, guys, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you.